Richard, I know a lot has been made about Isaac Jackson's. I don't think it's actually his nephew. It might be just his godson. Could you tell us about the St. Bosco's 4-star that just got an offer from the Razorbacks?
Yeah, he obviously got an offer, and he tweeted it out. He put it on Instagram. I think there's a chance he visits. I can't say for sure. I haven't been able to confirm that. But it's kind of hard to really gauge where exactly he is. But obviously, I think he put out a list of his top schools a while back, and that was before the Arkansas offer. We'll just have to see how this plays out, and before we really know, if Arkansas is a serious contender or not.
Yeah, and Arkansas, as you mentioned, was not a part of that list. So what can Arkansas do, Richard, from your perspective, to sway the kid to not just take an official visit, but potentially pick the Razorbacks as his college destination?
Well, you hope. Isaac has obviously told him a lot of good things, and kind of follow that with your philosophy, who you are. Coach Pittman's track record of offensive linemen going to the league. You just try to sell yourself and your program, and also, at the same time, you're trying to get to know the young man, too, to know if he's a good fit. Just because the kid is a highly rated prospect, and I have no reason to think that he's not a good kid. I'm just saying that, as a staff, you always kind of get to know a young man and his family and see if they're a good fit for you and your program. And obviously, I'm sure that's going to that's going to happen, as far as developing that relationship. So, but you just be who you are. Tell them, the background of what Coach Pittman's done for offensive linemen, and just go from there.
Things have been so different because of COVID. We're just now getting back to on-campus visits. One of the things the coaches have not been able to do in as normal is go out and see high school games, see kids in action. How is it going to be different this fall when coaches are either traveling like they will at the end of September down to Arlington, or just here in the state where, it's not unusual, Richard, to see a Razorback assistant coach somewhere at a high school game on a Friday night. How are things going to be different this fall?
Yeah, it's going to add a little bit more excitement, especially for those particular schools that the coaches show up. There's always a buzz when it's known that one of the assistants are going to be showing up at a game, and it'd be back to normal, I guess you could say. I mean, obviously take the precautions that we all need to take right now, but for them to be able to see kids in person is huge. You can't minimize that. They were with the pandemic for the longest. They were going basically exclusively off film, word of the high school coaches and other sources that they talked to see, hey, is the kid really 6'4", 300, or is he 6'2", 285? I mean, sometimes that happens, and now you're able to get that visual evaluation and see that kid and see if they actually are a certain size, how they move in space. I mean, film is always good, but nothing replaces the in-person evaluation as well as that.
Recruiting Thursday here on the Morning Rush. Normally we're loaded up with tons of football stuff, maybe a basketball question or two. It's rare that at this point in the year we're talking a lot of baseball, but you had several reports between you and Dudley of what Dave Van Horn's got going on, both in the as far out as the 2025 class. Give us some insight. Tell our audience about Dave Van Horn. It's been an active week or two, not just with 22s, but all the way out to 25s with Dave Van Horn and looking at some in-state and out-of-state prospects.
Yeah, in football and basketball, you may be, like a year or two ahead, get some commitments. But in baseball, they're, like you said, they're already getting commitments into the 25 class, 24 class. So baseball is a little bit more, I guess, quicker as far as putting out offers and getting commitments, but they've gotten 8 high school prospects to commit from the 22 to 25 class over the last 2 weeks, and a couple of them just recently. One of them Landon Schaeffer from Fayetteville, who's a 25 infielder pitcher who had several other SEC schools inquire about him, but he wanted to be a Razorback. He's the son of Arkansas women's basketball assistant Todd Schaeffer. So he's an interesting prospect because he's already 6'3", 160 pounds, going into the 9th grade, and he already hits about 85, 86 on the gun with his fastball. So you figure, on down the road, he'll probably be in the 90s. And they just recently got a top 15 prospect in the 23 class.
Kind of like another Robert Moore is to young phenom kind of player. Yeah.
And, hey, right now, I don't think that there's probably not too many hotter baseball programs in the nation than obviously Coach Van Horn and his program because of what they've done recently, but also that baseball facility that they have. There's probably nothing in the country that can even compete with that. And when you have those type of facilities, kids see that type of commitment that you have towards a sport that is not is for the most part is a non-revenue sport. That says volumes, and that really impresses them.
So you need women's basketball to keep winning a lot of games, going to the tournaments. So Todd Schaeffer's still here on staff for his son to play for Dave Van Horn. Is that the play?
Yeah, I was asking you. So your dad's obviously happy because he doesn't have to see you. Have to go too far to watch you play. And he said, "Oh yeah, definitely." So yeah, definitely. And hey, the way the women's basketball program is going, if he wants to be here, I think he'll be here for a while.
Richard Davenport with us here on the Morning Rush. Richard, we were discussing a little bit last night and early this morning about NIL, where Arkansas stacks up against other, not just schools, but SEC schools. Tommy brought up the fact that Bryce Young could be making up to 7 figures with NIL deals. Where is Arkansas? Let our listeners know how they're stacking up right now in terms of money accumulated and distributed amongst student athletes at the U of A.
I don't know the exact deals, but it's kind of hard. I text a couple of friends that cover SEC schools, and one of the guys, I asked him, I said, approximately how many guys on the team have deals, and he said probably about 35 to 45%, and I would probably say that that's the same for Arkansas. Now, has anybody gotten into the 6 figures? I can't say for sure, but I would. I kind of have my doubts, but at the same time, I'm not 100% sure on that. But there's some guys that are obviously doing pretty good. I mean, Jalen Catalon is representing a law firm, and Grant Morgan. Obviously, we've seen several of his deals. Bumper Pool, Traylon Burks. I mean, I think for the most part, what you're going to see, and I think Tommy's kind of hit on this. We kind of thought it would be kind of like the Wild Wild West a little bit, everybody getting deals and trying to, up one another in recruiting. And I'm sure that has definitely been the case in some situations, but it's usually for an elite prospect. But I think you're probably going to see mostly skill guys and a few guys that have some really good communication skills and have a good personality that people kind of gravitate towards before businesses really reach out to try to get them to be a spokesperson for their company.
Yeah, there was a tweet from the U of A that was laying out how many athletes in the different sports, and wanted to make the point that this wasn't just 1 or 2 sports, but said that collectively and this was a couple of weeks ago, so the number changes over time, but collectively it was just basically right at $100,000 that all of the U of A athletes had done at that point. So that kind of gives you an idea, but that number was a couple of weeks old by now.
Yeah, and I was talking to a Power 5 football player on the West Coast who has Arkansas ties, and I was just asking him about this, national name, image, and likeness situation out there, and And a lot of it, I mean, a lot of it has, especially the secondary sports, a lot of it has to do with how many followers they have on Instagram or other social media platforms. Some of the big deals that you've seen, as far as some of these secondary sport athletes in other parts of the country, it's because of they had a following before they even got to their particular school. So I think that plays a role in it. And sometimes it's just a fit. Traylon Burks representing an outdoor type, company. It only makes sense because he loves hunting and fishing.
Richard, a guy that people are going to want to keep an eye on moving forward, class of 2026, Kane Archer, who's now an 8th grader at Greenwood's going to play up on the 9th grade team this year's number 1 quarterback, not just in Arkansas, but in that class. Now, Tommy brought it up earlier, and we've said kind of the same thing. It's harder to renege on an in-state offer than it is for Michigan or Missouri to pull an offer. When do you think is an appropriate time to offer someone of his caliber if you're Kendall Briles and Sam Pittman?
Probably until he gets to high school. I don't know. We're really getting into, and early offers like this have been happening, probably not as much in the past, but I remember what Bobby Knight offered, who was the guy, Damon Bailey, in the 8th grade? Tommy?
Yeah,
I don't know if you remember him.
I don't remember that.
Anyway.
That's basically what this kid is, an 8th grader. So
right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's very rare. But what Missouri and Michigan have seen is a guy that is mature beyond his age. They project him to be a D1 guy and already see that, if he continues to progress, he'll be at that level. There's no doubt that you don't just even give a verbal offer without having a lot of confidence in that young man developing into obviously a Power 5 prospect. But like you said, it's easier for out-of-state schools, and Arkansas does the same thing, to go out and offer kids, and that doesn't mean that they'll take that kid as a commitment right off the bat. But at the same time, if you're an in-state school, you got to be a little careful because it's kind of a PR nightmare if you offer a kid early and then renege.
That's a good point. Richard, we appreciate you joining us, giving us some insight, giving our whole audience some insight here on a Recruiting Thursday. And we finally have a game week as of next week, and you'll join us 2 days from Rice next Thursday.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. We'll see you.
The start of the season is just around the corner, and if you're into sports betting, Bet Online is where you should go to win some money today. Whether it's live bets during games or future bets on who you think will win the championship, Bet Online has all the latest odds, news, and information for all your online sports betting needs. Visit the website today or use your mobile device to join and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. So before the next big game or before the season starts, head on over to Bet Online and start playing today. That's Bet Online, your online sportsbook experts.